Hi guys, can everyone hear me? Lovely. Right, well, thanks for coming again. This is normally the time of the day when I start to lose my voice, as this is my third webinar of the day. So forgive me if I start coughing or spluttering. I've been talking for quite a long time. But it's nice to have some people to talk to, as I say. I've been stuck at home, so it's one way of not going stir crazy. Right, I'm going to begin. Give me a second. Let me just switch to a screen share. And we're going to go like this. And then I'm going to switch to my slides and we will crack on. So, for our last webinar today, we're going to be talking about Aurora smart lighting, which are a relatively new brand to 1AV. We've had them on for a while, but as I say, we've sort of really started pushing them recently. Let's begin. So when we're talking about smart lighting, there's this gap between what I consider smart technology and what I would consider CI technology. Obviously, anything with smart in the title, you tend to be a bit sort of like, oh, it's not really for me because it's designed for anyone to be able to install, and you might want to. But I think what Aurora are doing is they've started off in the smart bracket. So they've started off, similar to how where Philips Hue is, but actually they're taking steps to move into the CI market. Firstly, with drivers for all sort of big control systems. I know the Control 4 driver's been worked on at the moment. In fact, the Control 4 driver I've seen running in their showroom, it works great. But also they're working on drivers for Crestron, RTI, that sort of thing. And also there's some new packages coming out that are going to be designed particularly for the CI market. So though a lot of their stuff is labeled smart, it is smart, but actually they're aware of the CI market. They acknowledge it and they're looking to bring products out and things like that, particularly for the CI market. But yeah, when we refer to smart something, typically people tend to associate it with things like, Echo, Hive, smart things, Hue, those sort of things. Those are what I consider smart projects rather than CI products. So firstly, let's talk about wired or wireless. Now, a vast majority of the products that we're doing are wireless products. However, they do have wired options. We'll get into those in a bit. But both have pros and cons. Typically, wireless is much more easy to retrofit. It's quicker to deploy. It really comes down to the situation. If you're doing a first fix on a house, you may as well do a wired solution because you've got the opportunity to. But actually, if we're going and retrofitting something, it may well be that actually it makes more sense to go wireless if the setup allows it. But typically with all the Aurora products, you've got most of the bulbs are, gotta stop saying bulbs, lamps are wireless, and then there's a bunch of inline products that can sort of incorporate them into wired systems. So let's talk about the A1 range. Let me see the slide. So firstly, let's talk about the technology that it uses. So for those of you who aren't aware, Aurora uses Zigbee as its main method of wireless communication. There are a few other options out there. Lutron and Lightwave have had great success using 433 and 868 megahertz. For anyone that was in my Selfie talk about an hour ago, you will know why they choose those frequencies, because they penetrate better. But it comes with its own problems. It still runs into some frequency issues. Sometimes it clashes with some other things. But obviously, I'm not going to turn around and say the system that Lutron uses isn't good, because obviously they've built a massive company over using it. But in the case of Aurora, they've gone with Zigbee because actually it's a little bit more accessible. It's a bit easier to get sort of licensing and things for it and that. There's some options with Bluetooth. Bluetooth's a bit. The problem with Bluetooth as a method of talking to devices is, even though there's some new revisions of Bluetooth coming out that allow multiple devices, Bluetooth is always designed for point-to-point connections. It doesn't adjust well to many devices, talking to many devices. The other option is Wi-Fi. Obviously, we know why this isn't a great option. Wi-Fi coverage is poor at best of times unless you've got, serious coverage in your house. And also, it's better to keep. I prefer personally to keep this sort of stuff off my Wi-Fi network. If your Wi-Fi goes down, you don't want your lighting to also stop working. So yeah, we can keep it separate. Then on to Zigbee. So Zigbee is sort of one of the new ones. Obviously, Philips Hue uses Zigbee. Lots of stuff out there uses Zigbee. It's a rapidly going platform. There's all sorts of new changes each time. It's got a bunch of extra like eco options and things like that. So when Aurora was originally sort of building their smart lighting system, just based on what was available at the time, Zigbee was definitely the choice to make. So just understanding about Zigbee a bit. So Zigbee is a mesh technology. What this means, for those of you that are new to this sort of thing, is that it's firstly it's scalable, but the idea is that basically when you're using Zigbee, your devices talk by making what we call jumps. So what they will look to do is they will look to sort of find the shortest route. So this device, if this is your hub here, this device is going to reduce latency as much as possible. This device is going to, so you've got your device here. So it's going to look to go, okay, what's my shortest route? Okay, I'm going to go to this device and I'm going to go to this device. So 2 jumps to get here. And that is what Zigbee looks to do. So it looks to build a mesh network out of all your devices. What this does mean, though, is obviously you've got to consider when you're building your system how many Zigbee devices there were. You might need to put some extras in to get your Zigbee mesh working well. But the main thing about Zigbee is, unlike a lot of other systems like 438 and stuff like that, it is self-healing. So, if this device goes down, whatever this is here, let's say it's some sort of lamp, if this device disappears, then this device will immediately go, okay, I can't go here anymore, so I'm just going to take slightly longer. It'll add a few milliseconds of latency, but it's still got a route back to it. A lot of other wireless systems don't work this way. If the route isn't open, they're not able to find alternative routes. So yeah, Zigbee is really nice for sort of this sort of thing because it's very smart. It self-heals, and that's why generally most sort of lighting systems now seem to be using Zigbee. So just to go a little bit into the products, I also appreciate the text is quite small here. There's sort of 2 main categories of products with Aurora. You've got what are called the Aurora Smart Inside products and what are called the A1 control products. So you've got stuff that we consider smart already. So all these lamps, these switches, all this sort of stuff. This has the chipset in it to operate as a smart inside device. And then you've got the products that we call Make Smart. So what these do is these are products that let you turn existing installs into smart installs. So if you've got an existing system and they like the lamps they've chosen, so using custom lamps and custom fittings, they don't want to use smart lamps, you can instead put a smart inline, dimmer, switch, tuner, whatever. You can fit those in line so that you can make an existing system smart. And the way you talk to all these devices is there's a couple of ways. So you have the A1 hub, the Samsung SmartThings hub, or the other option is the Amazon stuff, but we'll come on to that in a second. And here it is. So you have 3 options for control: the A1 hub, Samsung SmartThings, and Amazon Alexa. Now, obviously, we're not in a position to do live demos of these to show you the difference between them. Generally, I'd say that the integration is obviously for the A1 hub is the best. So the A1 hub has sort of the most options for color tuning and that, because it was designed to work with Aurora. Next comes SmartThings. So you would use SmartThings if you wanted, to control a few devices. I will say, for, this slideshow is obviously it's aimed at potentially the electrician or something like that. As you guys are CIs, it might be that actually you wouldn't consider using SmartThings, because if you're going to use this, you'd use another, your control system of preference. You might use RTI or Control 4 or something to do a similar thing. But Samsung SmartThings was always aimed to be, a a sort of introduction to control systems. I would say for you guys, most typically you'd be using the A1 hub, which incidentally currently is required if you go with Control 4. So if you want to do Aurora with Control 4, you still need the A1 hub, because the Control 4 basically talks to the hub and the hub administers all the changes. And the last option is your Amazon Alexa. So that Amazon Alexa does support Aurora, so you can install for your customer, custom lighting, room-based lighting. It's got Amazon Alexa's got quite good now. You can do zone-based. It can detect where you are, so you don't need to say lights on in living room. You can just say lights on. If the Amazon Alexa in the living room picks it up, it will do it. That stuff's all got quite clever now, and you don't need the A1 hub to do that. The Amazon Alexa can talk to the lights directly. It's not quite as detailed. The Amazon Alexa, I think, for instance, with dimming, whereas this has 100, massive 100% to 0% range for dimming, for instance. I think Amazon Alexa only does it in like 6 stages, so there's less options there, but it is doable. So the main product we'll talk about is the hub. So a couple of things to know about the hub. Typically, one hub will give you control of up to about 60 devices. We recommend 50 for optimal performance. It actually depends which devices. Some devices you can have more of, whereas some are a bit more sort of intensive. That things like plugs and inline voltage things, because they actually monitor the voltage, they actually require more processing power from the hub than something like a simple on-off light bulb, a light lamp or something like that. So yeah, it depends, but typically, let's say 50 devices. So this does offer operation, unlike Samsung Smart Things. This will work if the internet goes out. So if you have a blip and the internet goes off, your system will still operate completely as normal. And it will also integrate. So I did mention that Amazon Alexa and Google can talk to your Aurora system without this, but it actually works better if you do have this, because this hub allows you to set up much more complicated scenes. You can have a daytime and a nighttime scene and stuff like that. So I'd always recommend, if you're going to do voice control, do it with the hub, though you don't need to. Sorry, you can have multiple hubs. So as I say, there's a limit of 50 devices per hub, but what you can then do is you can stack hubs. So you can have multiple hubs in a single install. Commercial grade 108, so very secure. It utilizes something called GUI. GUI is actually a much bigger thing than Aurora. GUI is a massive sort of application for administering lighting control in much larger systems, but it utilizes GUI in the back end. Great. So a few bits. So what you'll always find actually is that generally, as new Zigbee sort of protocols come out, you'll find that the hub tends to get them first. But generally, what you just find is the Aurora hub's the best. It's got the most functionality. Next comes Smart Things, which you might want to have a play with, and then you've got Amazon Alexa, which doesn't have that much control of it, but it does work with it. Whereas if you combine Amazon Alexa and the hub, you get sort of the full range of everything. A little bit about the app. So this is actually changing soon. They've got a new version coming. So I don't actually know where these screenshots are from. Are they from the new one or the old one? I can't remember. I've got the old one, but yeah, this is the app. Sort of looks like this. I'm not going to go into Smart Things too much. I think for for what we're doing, it's not that relevant. Right. Yeah, I'm going to skip some things. Let's look at some products. So just to give you an example of sort of products. So these are some new smart filament lamps. So these, obviously, those of you that do any interior design, know anything about interior design, you know that these sort of things are very trendy at the moment. But there is a new version of this. So this is the new smart filament lamp. So 900 Kelvin color temperature. So 900 Kelvin refers to how warm it is. Beam angles, dimming ranges, all sorts of variants, but those are newly available. Then we get the these are what I'd say are like your sort of main workhorse. This is what we tend to get through the most of. We sell most of these. These are the M Pro Z and ZX color tunable downlights. Now, just an example of a project with those. So this is a project using these downlights. There's 77 of these with color tuning set up to enable different, different levels of whiteness and warmness throughout the day. And it's all controlled by kinetic switches. Now, I will talk about the kinetic switches a bit. So a kinetic switch, and Aurora currently have one available, but there's a whole new range of those. I haven't got the slides for those aren't available yet, but when we do part 2 next week, we'll you'll see those. But a kinetic switch is a light switch that does not have a battery and is not connected to the mains. So essentially, it uses the force of you pressing the switch to control it. So they're very green, very eco-friendly. So this particular, and the other nice thing about kinetic switches, you can literally put them anywhere because you don't need to wire them in. You can literally just plop them on the wall. They'll talk to your system via Zigbee, and they don't require any additional wiring, so you can put switches anywhere. In fact, I've literally got a kinetic switch right behind me on my stairs. So yeah, those are very nice. But yeah, this product just with 77 M Pro ZXs and then a set of kinetic switches. Very simple. This is a complete retrofit. So there's no need for extra wiring. All they've done is go in and just fit these into the existing lighting sockets. No additional lighting sockets were added. This is a complete retrofit to make what wasn't a smart lighting system a smart lighting system. Simple, very easy to do. And here's some other examples of the lighting schemes. So these are sort of your main products. This is mostly what you'll be using. So you've got a range of GU10s. These are color tunable GU10s. So either a regular one and an RGB one. And you've got your GLSs, so color tunable RGB. And then you've got your candle. And there isn't currently, I think there is an RGB candle. In fact, I think in my demo case I have an RGB candle. I don't know on the slides yet, but I do believe those are available now. I think so. I'll check that. I think I have seen an RGB candle. But yeah, these are the stats on them. As I say, it's all pretty standard stuff you'd expect from these types of lamps. But yeah, they're smart inside. So that's the key thing. So you don't need, these can literally just slot straight in and you can make it smart. These, I'd say, are the most sort of direct comparison to the things Philips Hue do. The next things I'll show you are what sort of Philips Hue doesn't do. So moving on from there, you've got your inline modules. So these are much more sort of your retrofit options. So you've got an inline triac dimmer, you've got an inline 1 to 10 V dimmer, and then you've got an inline color tunable and dimming module. So let's just go an example of a project that's happened recently with that. So this is Ramsey Park Hotel in Jersey. So this product uses 48 of these, and then you've basically got a bunch of RGB tape going around these things, and then you've got kinetic switches as well as an app. So what you end up with is some very funky lighting options in that place. And that's a very, it's not complicated stuff. All they've done is run RGB tape around here with the inline modules. Then everything connects wirelessly over Zigbee. You've got your 2 switches, kinetic switches, and then also there's an iPad that lets you do a customized scene. So I think the way they've done it is they've set up 3 scenes as standard, and there's a 4th scene for when they have weddings where people can choose their own lighting. But that is an example, that is a very simple install. Just a lot of controllers and a lot of tape and 250 meters of RGB tape, but you've ended up with a great result and no need for any sort of extra wiring or anything like that. It's all just inline stuff. And a few other bits and pieces. You've got some power devices. So you've got an inline switch. You've also got a switch that can be put into an existing socket. And the most interesting one is these 2-gang plates. So what is nice about these is these are really, obviously there's energy, you can switch off these plugs remotely, but also they're lockable. Obviously the problem with something like this is it's not lockable. So if you want to put these in your kid's bedroom, so they can't have their TV on after a certain time, obviously something like this is easily bypassed. Whereas actually if you put these plug sockets in, then they can't be. and they're completely monitorable in the app, and they'll also tell you your power consumption and things like that. But also the fact they're lockable is a nice feature. And there's bits and pieces, PIR, motion sensor, the remote control. Apparently there's a new version that's coming out in some different colours. But it's just a basic battery remote that will control your whole system. But again, it's nice that it doesn't need to be wired in. It can just be stuck on a wall. And there's a battery. I think the battery needs to be replaced about something like every 2 years, something like that. And then this is the kinetic switch. This is what I talked about before. Now these are actually getting a redesign. So there is a whole new range of these coming. One piece of feedback we had, and also Aurora had a lot, was these don't feel very high end, and they agree. So there's actually a whole new range of these coming out that are sort of designed, with various. They can be customized, they can be custom engraved. So for the higher end, but they're nice because they're very green. They're a nice feature to have, and they're just very convenient to install because no wiring is required. This is an interesting one. So this is the two-way wall dimmer. So this is a smart dimmer, but one neat feature about it is it will work as a two-way. So what that basically means is you can have it work as a traditional dimmer, like a smart dimmer. So smart dimmer just means you've got a physical dimmer for the customer to use, or it can dim the lights via the app. But one nice thing about this is that it has the option to run in both master and slave configuration. So what that basically means is you can have like a two-way circuit, so say top and the bottom of the stairs, that controls both, and can both be essentially, doesn't matter which one you use, it will work the same way. So yeah, I say I'm not an electrician, so actually I haven't tried wiring one of these yet, but I'm told it's not too bad to do. But yeah, that's an example of the two-way switcher. These got nice. So this is the smart rotary dimmer. So what this does is this lets you control multiple things. So for instance, you can have one dimmer that actually does dimming, and then another dimmer that, say, rotates between different scenes or tunes color. So it can be a case of, you can set this up yourself how you want it to work. Essentially, you can set, so each option, if it's rotated and if it's pressed, you can choose, when I press it, I want to switch to color tuning mode, and then you can tune the color. So yeah, it's two dimmers that let you do much more detailed configuration of the lighting based on what you want. So A1 is currently versatile, which is very fit. So let's talk a bit about how you set it up. So setting it up is pretty straightforward, and we're getting to the end now, so it's getting late in the day. But what you basically do is you connect it, you plug everything in, and then what happens is it will, once you've created your account and sort of registered your unit, what it then does is it basically goes and it searches for all the Zigbee devices. Now, what you tend to find is it won't find all devices first time. It will go out, it'll find a certain amount of devices, and once it's found a certain amount, it then goes about registering them to the system, and then it goes and gets the rest. So don't be worried if you have a commissioner system and you find that it doesn't initially find everything. Just let it be, let it find those, and what you'll find is once it's found the first few, it will start discovering a few more until it's found all of them. It basically just does that so it doesn't get overloaded with 50 different devices at once. But it can be disconcerting when you first turn a system on. It doesn't immediately see everything, but give it a couple of minutes and it eventually finds everything. So yeah, but that's essentially it. For this part. Does anyone have any? Let me just have a screen share off. Does anyone have any questions? And I will say that for lighting stuff, I'm not the best guy. Unfortunately, the guy that is the best guy isn't available because he's not set up for working from home yet. But if you have any questions that I can't answer, I will. We've got the best guy next week, and he will answer them for you. So I'll wait a second for anyone to type any questions. I do believe there are some different fascias for them. I haven't seen them. So Stuart has asked for the power sockets. Do you have any other colours other than white? I think in their rollout, they've got this rollout. I've forgotten the name of the company. They're partnered with an Italian company who makes sort of very nice sort of metallic ceramic covers and things like that. And my understanding is the whole range has sort of been upgraded. So white is just the standard sort of off the shelf ones, and then there are nice custom ones you can special order. So if you decide, you know, the customer wants a range of much nicer, more premium sockets and connections and things like that, those are available. Yeah, that come back next week, Stuart, because there is a bit about those. That's something that's, I think, like the kinetic switches around at the moment, and there's the whole plan to sort of, there's this this demo case they've been showing around that's got all these lovely new versions of all the sockets and things like that with various different finishes and stuff that are imminently available. I think some of them are available now and some are about to be available. So yeah, I think fair comment. Obviously, white, you know, is fine for normal stuff, but for the more premium stuff, you know, white sockets aren't always what you want. So yeah, but again, they're aware of that, and they're bringing out products to meet that need. Sweet. Yeah, I think next week we'll have Andrew Price from Aurora is going to do the more advanced one next week, because he's that guy knows everything. Whereas today you just stuck with me, who knows a little bit about a lot of things. Smashing. Well, if no one's got any other questions, I will leave it there, and I hope you all have a good day. So all stay safe. Watch our Instagram for more of this stuff. As I'm working from home, I've got a lot more free time now to do this sort of thing. Also, if you've got any questions like custom stuff, like if you just want to have a chat to us about a product or a project, or you're just curious about something, we now have a bunch of technical staff who are sort of sat at home twiddling their thumbs, who I will be more than happy to task onto helping you out with anything you need help with. So yeah, by all means, if anyone's got any questions or anything they need help with, or projects they're working on or anything like that, just fire us a message and I'll sort something out for you. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye bye.